Brought to you by Naturals To Go, the VIBECast is your gateway to realizing your entrepreneurial dreams.
Hey, folks, thanks so much for joining us today on VIBECast. I'm always appreciative when you find time out of your busy day to spend with us. I read an article recently in the Entrepreneur magazine. The title of the article is If Running Your Business Feels Hard, You're Doing It Right. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today with Clayton Lamb. So, Clayton is a vending machine business owner, and he's been doing it for almost 3 years now, and has recently seen a huge growth in his business. And he attributes a lot of that growth basically to some of the things that we've talked about in the past, and that's that customer service, listening to your customers. So, Clayton, welcome to the show today. I am so glad you're here. I look forward to getting some great information from you.
I'm, like, really excited, and I really appreciate the opportunity to join you, so let's do this.
Absolutely. So you just recently got started 3 years ago. What was it that drew you to vending?
For me, the biggest draw to vending machines was this opportunity to kinda just be my own boss and build something from the ground up with my bare hands and kind of have direct control over every aspect of the business
Mhm.
and really seeing all of, like, my efforts, like, pay off. And then, like, some of my motivation with building a company was kind of stepping outside of, like, my comfort zone
Yeah.
and really see, like, what I was capable of. Like, I've had a career in, like, tech support, like, customer service, and I've kinda, like, plateaued to where I didn't really know, like, what was my next step, and so I decided to kind of just put all of my eggs in my own basket and really just build my own company. Um,
I love
it's
that. You decided to put all your eggs in your own basket. I love that. I'm gonna write that down. That is a quote that I'm gonna be quoting here.
got it.
I love that. But, we were talking in the green room before we came on about how many of us, myself included, spending 30 plus years in corporate banking, we get stuck with that job description, don't we, Clayton?
Yes, like, you have, like, your resume, right, with, like, your past experiences, and you kind of, like, mimic and, like, reorganize all the words to kinda, like, pass this, like, robot to get to a job that you've already done to kind of, like, get you, like, this interview. But, like, when it comes to, like, building your own company and you're, like, the CEO, like, I'm the sales manager, I'm the finance manager, I'm the data analyst manager, I'm the website developer, I am the Ooh, filing taxes, that's something that you also have to, like, learn. It's totally different when you're filing taxes for a company. It's a lot different than just entering in information for, like, a W-2, right? Another thing is, like, tech support, like, when your machines break, you gotta you gotta figure out how to, like like, rewire them and get them up and running, so now, like, I'm an electrician, so, like, you kinda become this, like, Swiss Army knife of, like, your business, and when a when a problem like, is in your way, like, when a problem arises, everything's on me to fix it. So I just gotta figure it out,
Yeah.
and it's challenging, but at the same time, it's very rewarding because from all of these, like, obstacles, they become, like, growth opportunities, and so now when, like, these problems, like, arise again or, like, a similar problem arises, you're already, like, ready to go. You're like, you just roll up your sleeves and you just, like, dive in.
Yeah. I know that you went through our training, and did you find that having that account manager to lean on in the early days, did that help you with some of those obstacles?
Most definitely, because a lot of the issues or problems that I've had, like, this account manager already had them, and so he's able to give me kind of, like, tips and tricks and then also some, like, guidance, and there's, like, a lot of, like, hand-holding in the beginning until you're comfortable enough to kind of, like, troubleshoot and kind of like tackle the problems like on your own and kind of like build up that like the confidence.
Mhm, mhm. So you were talking about some of those obstacles early on. They probably are not really obstacles for you today because you've
Oh,
got that figured out and you're moving forward.
yes, definitely, definitely, definitely.
So how in overcoming some of those obstacles that you had, and maybe some of those obstacles weren't machine related. It's running your business. It's making sure that you have those relationships with your clients as well. How did all of that play to your success?
Ooh, that is a huge part of the vending machine industry. Like once you like secure like a high traffic location, obviously like that's an obstacle, right? You want really high traffic, high volume. It's not just like placing a vending machine and then like collecting your money. Like no, like you really have to build relationships with all of the clients using your machines. You kind of have to build this rapport. You have to talk to them. You have to ask them questions of what they want. That all like takes like time and like a lot of like patience, but that like kind of plays out into your business because my 2 top performing machines, it took a good like 6 months to kind of like establish those relationships to get to the sales volume that they are at today.
Mhm. Yeah, and that time means just listening to what they want because every location's a little bit different, isn't it?
They're all different. Oh my goodness, like, um, it would be like I mean, in the ideal world, like, all of your machines have the exact same product selection to where, like, shopping is easy, it's more efficient, but that's just not the reality. Um, I have a location where they don't want anything healthy. They want Monster energy drinks, they want, like, Dr. Pepper, they want chocolate donuts. Then I have another location where they want, like, ginger ale, they want, like, Diet Dr. Pepper, they want water, they want LaCroix. So, like, you really have to, like, build these relationships, ask questions, and you also have to be really good at, like, analyzing all the numbers and the sales data on the back end, figuring out, like, what's selling, like, where it's selling, how quickly it's selling, why it's selling, and then, you also have to kind of factor in weather. Like, in Denver, Colorado, it gets really hot, and so that drives a lot of, like, soda and, like, tea in the summer, and then in the wintertime, you're selling more, like, soups, like hot chocolate and coffee drinks. So weather kind of plays, like, a variable in this, but it all comes down to a lot of sales and analyzing these sales over, like, a period of time. So, like, it took a good, like, 6 months to, like, 1 year to kind of curate a selection of products for each, like, location. But once you kinda do that, the machines, like, just kind of, like, take care of themselves.
So let's talk about what a day in the life of Clay
Ooh.
looks like. So take me through that. Take me through that.
Okay, it all starts with, like, the data, right? I have a MoMA app, and, like, that's the app that I use to kind of, like, monitor, like, the inventory levels of all the machines. So every morning, it's looking at the app, seeing what machines have the lowest inventory. And I try to like keep machines stocked at like 70% or more. So anything like 70% and below, those are the machines that I'm gonna hit. And then with my route, I kind of break it up into different sections because like the machines are not in the same area. I mean, ideally, you'd want like all your machines 15 minutes from your house. But, like, if you're looking for that, good luck. It's just not gonna happen, like, no. Your high traffic locations are not all gonna be, like, near your house, right? So some machines, like, take longer to get to, whatever, they're on opposite ends of town, but th then you that's another way for you to kind of, like, map out your route and your day, and so that's kinda what I do. Um, so, like, after I figure out what machines, then I load up my dolly, I load up all my products, in my bins. You know, you wanna separate the snacks from the drinks because you don't wanna you don't wanna smash all your chips. No one wants smashed chips, right? So you kinda separate your inventory by snacks versus drinks, and then you head out. And then also, timing kind of plays into it, right? Like, you don't want to like get to your location when everyone's in break and they're in like in the break room. Like, no, you want to get there before or after break to kind of like take advantage of those of those sales. And so I fill my machines. The machines take about 20 minutes tops to like load up. They take a little bit longer if you have to do any like product swaps or like price changes or to kind of like troubleshoot any issues. Like coin jams, that's just like the nature of the business. For me, I noticed like dimes, they just kind of cause issues. When you put a quarter in, obviously they can only go in the quarter slot, but sometimes like dimes, they can go into a nickel or a quarter. That kind of they just get jammed up every now and then. But it's a very quick like troubleshoot where you just kind of like, okay, there's the dime, you pull it out of the machine and then you're good to go. Um, and then Sundays are like the days for like shopping. I like to do my shopping on Sunday because the Costco Business Center is like one of my favorite spots for snacks. They have snack options that are not available at your like typical like Costco. And when you kind of go into the Costco Business Center, it's just they don't have like displays of products and just like the whole like center area between the aisles, it's just all like all of your snacks. I do that on Sundays, less traffic, less people inside the Costco. There'll probably be like 10 people tops inside these Costco, like the Costco Business Center on a Sunday. So you're like, yes. And then I get home, unload. I'll have like 2 carts full of like products. And so it takes some time to like unload. And then there's like a lot of like cardboard box breakdown because you want to recycle. But that's like a majority of the days, depending on it just depends on like what machines need to be filled. If I need to like, I guess, do any sort of like personal things, like, a doctor appointment, a dentist appointment, I've kind of like scheduled those around filling machines because I obviously want to have all my machines full like every morning to kind of make sure there's product for all my clients. And that's the majority of my day.
Yeah.
Is there any
So
Yeah, that's it.
and as we were talking about earlier, you as an entrepreneur, you wear multiple hats. And so the days that you're not restocking, your machines, what are you doing those days? Do you, work on your website or market, or what is it that you do to build your business on those days?
It depends on the day. For the most part, website is, like, up and running. I'm staying ahead of, like, SEO. 'Cause, like, with a website, you definitely want a good solid, like, website to kind of, like, look like a shark because there's big competition in the vending machine industry. I mean, there's Coke and Pepsi that have vending machines, and the biggest competition would be Canteen. Canteen's been around longer than my grandfather's been alive. They have all of the big contracts that I would love. They have all of the government contracts, they have the airport, they have City Hall, they have all of the recreational centers, they have the army, like, the military. Yeah, they all the good accounts. Luckily for me, like, I was able to steal one of their accounts, and I was so excited about this. I'm like, "Yes, small businesses, yes, let's go after you." And I was able to kinda capitalize on, like, bad service from one of their account managers, and this location has become like a top selling, top performing machine. So I was really, really stoked on that. And so like another thing with off days, besides like the website, cold calling, kind of driving around, like looking at the area, like kind of like researching like a next potential like location, kind of popping in and kind of saying hello and who I am. Because another thing to think about, it's with like the vending machine industry, it's not necessarily like you walk in and like you shake hands and say yes, and then like the next week you're putting in a machine. Like, no, like some of my accounts, it took like a good like 3-4 months to kind of like get the yes, and then get my machine in. So there's that. Other than that, like there's not a whole lot, like there's not like a full day of like proactive cold calling because I kind of want to like kind of like preserve my energy. So I'll do like
Yeah, so what you're describing, Clayton, is vending is a pretty big business. You
oh,
know,
yeah.
you've got these big companies are in it. Did you know that when you came into vending?
No, I did not know about Canteen. Like, I knew Coke and Pepsi were there, like, out there with, like, their vending machines. So Canteen was more of me getting into the business and then walking into, like, a location, like, wanting to kinda do business with them, and then, like, seeing on the side of the vending machine, Canteen, and then doing, like, the research and, like, "Oh," and they have a facility, like, not too far from my house. They have a massive warehouse, and so I kinda found out about Canteen after, like, kinda, like, establishing, like, my business. Here's a fun fact, I had a location where I was doing a walkthrough with HR, and she showed me all the areas where she wanted vending machines, and I would've been set because she wanted, like, 2 coffee machines, and she also wanted 5 snack and beverage machines, right? And I was like, "No way, this is gonna be a solid location." And then on top of that, she wanted me to offer, like, 1,000 free coffees to her employees, and then after 1,000 coffees, I would start charging, and then you can configure that with the machines, and then what she was gonna do is she was gonna pay me upfront for those 1,000, like, coffees, and I was like, "No way, this is gonna be a good setup, right?" But then when I went into the break room, my first question, I'm like, "Hey, what's up with that Coke machine in the corner?" And she's just like, "Just a heads up, we have a contract with Coca-Cola." And I'm like, "Can you kinda walk me through this contract?" And what she told me was every Friday, the Coke guy would come in and he would just, like, fill this machine with random sodas. So each, like, aisle wouldn't be like, Coca-Cola and the next, like, Mountain Dew or whatever. It would just be random sodas. And then on top of that, it was 25 cents a soda. And in my head, I'm like, I cannot compete against that because my cost obviously is more than 25 cents. And then with Coke owning a lot of the other, like, soda products, that totally eliminates the my availability, and so I just kinda had to, like, walk away and just, "Hey, just a heads up, I can't I'm a small business, I can't compete against those corporate prices, and I really would love to, but until you remove that Coke machine, like, I'm gonna have to, like, just say no."
Yeah, yeah. Well, and sometimes you have to make those decisions as a business owner, what is right. But vending is so much more. You mentioned coffee machines. Vending is so much more than drinks and chips, isn't it?
Mhm. Yes.
Mhm. And did you know that before you came into it, that it was bigger than what you initially thought?
Oh, it's definitely bigger. When I learned about the machines, I learned about, like, the temperature settings and how, like, the lower levels are colder than the upper levels, and then also, like, being able to kinda configure the aisles, like, different widths to kind of, like, accommodate different, like, snacks, and I definitely capitalized that and kinda, like, experimented with, like, different, like, meal options, and I had this one location. I really don't like messing with these burritos because, like, sometimes, like, where I get them, they don't have them stocked, and then, like, the deli manager, like, kinda gives me this, like, side eye, like, "Oh, I have to go back in the freezer, and I have to get them, and I have to, like, put the date on them for you," and I'm like, "Just can I just buy a box, and I'll write the date on myself?" But this, like, location, like, they love these burritos. Like, when I go in, if I don't have these burritos and I go in the next week and they see me, they're like, "Yo, snack man, where's my chimichangas?" And I'm like, "Ugh." They they I have issues with them, like, they don't, like, vend right, and then if I don't sell through them quick enough, then I have to, like, throw them out. Like, they have a really, like, short life or sorry, shelf life, but, like, the positive is the markup on these burritos is I think it's a little over 70%. So I'm definitely making, like, a lot of money off of these burritos, but they're just, like, there's like, they can be a headache, so you kinda have to, like, do I wanna put them in? Do I wanna keep them happy? And then, like, well, if they're gonna buy a burrito, they're gonna buy a soda to go with it. So, like, you you definitely have to find that balance where, like, I'm like, "Okay." And the last time I was there, like, I didn't have these, like, I didn't have these burritos for a while, right? And then when I went in there, I went in like after break and I was like walking out, and then there's a whole like group of guys outside like talking, and they were just like, "Snack man, did you put in the chimichangas or what?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't." I'm like, "Okay, listen, just a heads up. I will have the burritos and chimichanga. Can you like clarify with me like what ones you guys want? Because there's multiple options." So he gets on the radio and he's like, Tim, and Tim is the general manager. And so like he's like, "Hey Tim, what the snack man? He's right here. Like, what burritos do we want?" He's like, "Tell him the red and blue." And I'm like, "Okay, listen, I'll make a deal with you, okay? I will bring back the red and blue burritos, but you guys have to buy them, because if you guys do not buy them and throw any of these away, no more burritos and chimichangas." And he's just like, "Deal." And so we kind of made this like agreement where they like buy them. And so you just have to like kind of baby those relationships and like just kind of like establish kind of like some boundaries with them. Like, just heads up, if I throw any of them away, like no more. And then they're like, "Okay, snack man, we'll buy the burritos." And
Yeah,
so,
but they see you then as a real person, you're
yeah.
interacting with them like a real person. So, Clayton, it sounds like you have a great time too when you're out and making those relationships. What is it at the end of the day that you feel like makes the day you feel fulfilled at the end of the day? What is it that at the end of the day, you look back and it puts a smile on your face that, yes, you made the right decision doing this?
Oh, there's quite a few. My favorite is like the perfect fill euphoria. And what that is, it's like when you like load up like all of your bins, and I go to a location and no one bought any snacks in the time it took me to like load up and get there. And so like the machine is like fully stocked. Like I wipe it down, it's like nice and clean. There's like no coin jams, like no issues. I'm like just like a ninja, just filling it, and then I'm out, and then like off to my next location. That's one of them. I would say, ooh, and then also like knowing that I've kind of like built like a solid like relationship with everyone, because like even now when like there's an issue like with the machine, like I've had a guy like, "Hey, um your machine took my dollar." And I knew beforehand because when I went in to fill the machine, I saw like the Pop Tarts hanging. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, "Okay, I owe someone some money." Right? And when the guy like walked up to me and was like, "Hey, like just a heads up, I put some money in your machine and it, took my money." And what I did was I kind of just asked him, "Hey, like, can I see like the change that my machine gave to you?" And he's just like, "Yeah, it's right here. It was from yesterday." And then I kind of had to like tell him like, "Hey, just a heads up, those aren't quarters, those are dollar coins." So the machine did give you like the right amount of change, but just a heads up, here's some Pop Tarts, and I just want to make sure you're like happy. And he's just like, "Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate it." So, like, being able to establish relationships to where they're at a level of, like, satisfaction to where, like, if there is an issue, they have, like, total trust that Imma, like, take care of them, that I'm not there to, like, take money from them. I'm there to, like, provide a service, and they have all this full, like, faith and trust in me to kind of fix those problems. There's that, and then, another one is, like, when you, like, hit, like, the product jackpot, right? Like, you're in, like, your area where you're shopping, right? And you're like, wonder if that would sell." And you're just, like, contemplating, you're kinda calculating the cost, "What can I sell that for?" Right? And then you have no idea if it's gonna sell, and then you, like, put this, like, new product in, and it just, like, flies right off the shelf, and you're like, "Yes! That was a solid choice." And I think those would be, I guess, my top 3 kinda, like, rewarding aspects of, like, the business that I built.
Yeah, I love that, and it is the little things as a small business owner that makes us happy, right? But the most important thing is everything that you're talking about, it's about making your customer happy, giving
Mhm.
good customer service, and that's what it all boils down to, isn't it?
Yes, because when I sold the account from Canteen, um, the general manager was just completely, like, going off on, like, the account manager, like, the level of service and kinda, like, dealing with, like, the issues, and then that's kinda, like, what I was able to kinda capitalize on, and then ever since then, I've kinda, like, just built this, like, solid relationship with, like, the general manager and all the people using the
Right.
machines. I'm
Wow.
not, like, trying to, like, bash, like, a larger, like, company. It's just I was able to kinda capitalize on, like, one issue.
Mm. Yeah,
So I'm pretty sure they
definitely.
have, like, solid accounts out there.
Yeah, yeah. Clayton, we're down at the end of the show, but, if there's someone listening and they're contemplating going into business for themselves or maybe even considering vending, what kind of advice would you offer them?
The first tip I would give someone is you need to figure out what your evergreen product is. And your evergreen product is a product that's gonna sell regardless of, like, location or weather. It's just the local snack. And in Denver, what I found out is when it comes between Coke versus Pepsi, it's Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is my number 1 selling soda, and so, like, my machines have more rows of Dr. Pepper versus Coke and Pepsi combined, and that's my evergreen product, so I always make sure I have, like, Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is something that I can, like, stock up on, and I know I'm gonna sell through it. There's that, and you also like, another tip when it comes to, like, your snacks is, like, you have your evergreens, but you don't ever want to steer away from, like, newness, because even if someone, like, uses your machine every single day, you really wanna kinda, like, surprise them with, like, a new product, like, "Ooh, I'm gonna try that." So it's not the same assortment of product day in and day out, like, so embrace the newness, experiment with those, like, new products, and try to find, like, your jackpot item, and for me, it was cherry pies. I saw these cherry pies, they look delicious, and that was one of my jackpot products, and I put it in, and it flew off the shelf. But another thing to think about is the novelty of that new product can wear off. So you don't necessarily wanna be like, "Okay, cool. Cherry pies are a top seller, so I'm gonna stock up." These cherry pies, they have, like, a really short shelf life, and so you kinda have to find that balance of, like, newness and the novelty, and so kind of, like, put them in every now and then to sell them and versus, like, having them, like, stocked every single day. So there's, like, the balance of, like, newness and the evergreens. Um, Another thing to think about is you have, like, every location is gonna have, like, employee turnover. When I first started out, I was selling, Texas cinnamon rolls, like, left and right, and when I would go into the fill this machine, the guy that was buying all of these Texas cinnamon rolls, he would walk in behind me and literally buy the Texas cinnamon roll like like it was a handoff, and he would, like, give me the exact change for these, like, Texas cinnamon rolls. He'd walk over to the microwave, and then he'd be, like, sitting at a table, like, eating these Texas cinnamon rolls while I'm filling the machines. So I'm like, "Cool, Texas cinnamon rolls are a hit," and so what I ended up doing was I kinda, like, stocked up on these, like, Texas cinnamon rolls, and this employee ended up, like, no longer working at this company, and he was the only one buying them. So I had all these, like, Texas cinnamon rolls. I'm like, "Ah." So sometimes, like, your product sales could be, like, tied to, like, one employee, and you have no idea, right? You just That's just something I just can't teach you. You just gotta figure it out, right? And another thing is, a product that you've tried in the beginning that didn't sell, later on down the road, that product could be a hit. For me, Flaming Hot Cheetos. Like, I tried Flaming Hot Cheetos in the beginning, and they just didn't sell. And so, like, I kinda was, like, running out of options and, like, I'm like, "Well, I have a cheese option, I have a plain option, I have my Ruffles cheddar and sour cream." Oh, that's another, evergreen product for me, Ruffles cheddar and sour cream. So I tried, Flaming Hot Cheetos again. Now I have, like, 2 rows. So, like, there's just you have to play around with it. You can't be afraid to experiment kinda, like, with each location, talk to the employees, kinda get some feedback, figure out what your evergreens are, and then trying to like embrace like the newness and kind of like experiment with like new products because you never know what's gonna sell, stop selling, and what is just gonna be a hit. So you just have to really you have to experiment and just have fun with it because that's just something that I can't teach you. I mean, your locations are gonna be specific to the clientele that's using your machines. I can like help you analyze the sales data, but I can't help you figure out what those products are. And so that's just something that I would give you advice on. You just have to have fun with it, play around, experiment, and analyze the sales data.
I love all of that. I love all of that, Clayton, and, as we said at the top of the show, it is a lot of work, but, in the meantime, you can have fun with it, can't you?
Oh, yes. I mean, I've been through the ringer with like challenges, like obstacles in the very beginning, trying to figure out the perfect product selection. I do have like somewhat of a perfect like product selection like curated to each like location now, and that takes a lot of time and effort and patience because you can't just like place a machine and fill it and then collect your money. Like it takes a lot of like sales volume and data to like kind of analyze to kind of figure out those like selections. Um, and another thing is like you have to be prepared to attack your problems like head on, like roll up your sleeves and get ready. Because in the vending machine industry, when the fan like stops spinning, you're like losing money. And any employee that sees your machine now, they're gonna be like, ooh, a little hesitant. So it's gonna be like a huge deterrent for any of your clientele to like see your machine down. So like time is money. Um Here was a fun obstacle, like, one day, like, I opened my machine and it was frozen. I was like, "What?" So, like, I didn't even know the machines could freeze, right? So, like, that was, like, where I'm like, "Okay, well, I gotta diagnose the machine, that I quickly, like, figure out, like, the part that I needed to replace, figure out how to replace this part because it involved, like, wiring. I don't know how to, like, wire machines. It's way outside of my bailiwick, right? And then on top of that, when I ordered the part, I overnighted it. I had this part on my doorstep the very next day, like, because time is money. Like, you need to have this machine up and running, like, as soon as possible. And so, I had the machine up and running within, like, 24 hours of it freezing. But another thing to think about, like, in this scenario is, like, now I can be, like, proactive with this issue. So what I did was like, "Okay, cool. This is my oldest machine, and so my younger machines are probably gonna have this issue sooner or later, right? So, what I did was I ordered more of this replacement part, and I had them, like, inside, like, the storage area in the bottom of the machine, and so when this issue were to arise, I could fix it right there on the spot, and so since I've had this frozen machine, I've had 2 other machines freeze, but because I've already had this issue and I've already had the part, I was able to fix the machine before the clients even noticed. So
Yeah.
your problems can be prime opportunities to kind of be proactive and efficient, kind of like fix these problems before they even become noticeable.
Yeah, it's just part of running your business though, right? It's part of
Yep.
running the business.
Turning a negative into a positive.
There you go. There
You
you
have to,
go.
you have to just like,
You have
this
to.
is my business. I got to figure it out and have
Yeah.
fun with it. And so
Yeah.
now it's just like I have like 2 more machines where I'm like, okay, your timeline's coming. When are you gonna freeze?
But you're ready for it, right?
I'm ready for it.
There you go. Very good. Clayton, again, thank you so much for carving time out of your busy day. I know that you are juggling a lot of things, but I really look forward to watching your business grow even more massively than it has. So thanks so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you, Linda. I really enjoyed the conversation. It was so much fun, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
Absolutely. So, folks, y'all know at the end of the show, I always offer you a quote. This is a Michael Phelps quote. There will be obstacles. There will be doubters. There will be mistakes. There will be hard work. But with the hard work there are no limits. So, with that hard work, going through the obstacles, Clayton describes some of that he had faced today. But with that, you're rewarded at the end. So, folks, thanks so much for joining me today on Vibecast. And until next time, go out and live the vibe.
That's a wrap for this episode of the VIBECast. We hope you've been inspired and empowered on your entrepreneurial journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all your favorite platforms to stay connected with the Vibe community.